Since 1988, Storytelling Arts of Indiana has introduced the art of storytelling by creating environments where Hoosiers can hear and share stories, and by showcasing tellers who aspire diverse audiences. And speaking of diverse, this year's signature Ghost Stories event has expanded into 2 spine-tingling nights, complete with music inspired by the 80s. With more on all this silly spookiness is professional storyteller Leandra Radford. I understand you have a spooky story for us, Leandra.
I do. I have a spooky story that is appropriate for younger children.
Would you mind telling it?
Not at all.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So, it was a dark, rainy night. The night that it rained, the wind was howling, the rain was coming down in sheets, and it was chilly. I was driving my car alongside the cemetery when off to the side of the road I saw what appeared to be a little boy. And as I got closer, I realized this is a little boy about the age of 8 or 9. And before I could think to myself, what is a little boy 8 or 9 years old doing out this late at night on the side of the road near a cemetery nonetheless? I rolled down my window and I asked the little boy, "Would you like a ride home?" And the little boy said, "Yes, thank you." So I unlocked the door, let him in the car, and as he got in and got ready to put his seatbelt on, I reached to the back seat of my car to get him a sweater and said, "Here, put this on. It's cold. You must be cold because it's chilly outside." He put the sweater on and thanked me politely and didn't have much else to say until we got to his house. He told me he lived on First Street near the school. So as I pulled up on First Street, the little boy undone his seatbelt and was about to take off the sweater and get out of the car, and I said, "No, keep the sweater. I'll come and pick it up tomorrow. It's cold outside." I watched as he walked up his walkway and opened the door, and in a hurry to find some warmth myself, I drove away. The next morning, I got up and I went to the little boy's house and knocked on the door. A lady answered, and I said, "Is Jim in?" He had told me that his name was Jim. And the woman had a strange look on her face, almost as if tears were about to well up in her eyes. And so I felt the need to explain. "Ma'am, I brought your son home last night and he borrowed my sweater and I'm just here to collect it." And the woman said with much grief, "You must be talking about someone else's son. My son Jim died almost a year ago and we buried just up the road in the cemetery." Now I was confused, but I didn't want to add to her grief. And so I said, "I'm so sorry for your loss," and I left. But it wouldn't leave my mind. And so the next day, I made my way back to the cemetery, talked to the gatekeeper. He gave me the plot and the section of where little Jim was buried. And as I made my way to the plot that held his grave, I noticed my sweater was laying across the grave, and it looked like it had been there since the night that it rained.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
I'm so creeped out. First of all, ghost stories involving ghost children, every single time, scare me. This is such a fun event, and part of that is because of stories like that, and you guys are so welcoming with those stories, because that one is, while creepy, also easy for everyone to follow and isn't going to make people go home and necessarily not be able to sleep at night. How important is that to be able to give those types of stories that everyone can enjoy?
Oh, it is so important. Storytelling does a lot, especially for younger kids. It increases their desire to want to read and learn themselves, and so it becomes really extremely important. And the hope is that they grow up to become great readers of all genres, and not just scary stories, but that they become great readers.
So this year is a little bit different because you've added the music element as well.
Yes.
What's that look like? Tell us about some of that.
Okay, so in years past, we've done the scary stories in local cemeteries, but this year we're going to bring it inside. It'll be hosted at the Phoenix Theater, and so we're really excited about that. And there will be music. I think you said it earlier, around the 80s. So spine-tingling tales and tunes. So it'll be something new. There'll be some spooky treats there. So it is inviting for families and people, kids of all ages, so we say.
Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us and sharing that spooky story. I had chills the whole time.
Thank you for having me.
For tickets and showtimes to spine-tingling tales and tunes happening this weekend from the Phoenix Theater and Cultural Campus, you can visit allindiana.tv. Thanks again. We appreciate it.
The Sandra Eskenazi Mental Health Center